All right, what's up guys, and welcome to today's video on why I give away my company. Now, this is very interesting. This actually came, or this idea I should say, came from one of my good friends, Alex Ramosi. So if you haven't checked out his channel, make sure you do that. But I actually didn't do this until maybe a few months ago. So as you grow your business initially, you're very heavily involved in the growth. You might be doing the ads, you might be doing the marketing, the sales, the outreach, emails, everything. And that's originally how I built my business. So as the business grows, you have to learn to let go, which is very difficult because 99.9% of the time, what you can do very well, someone else can't do quite as well, right? And so you have to really learn how to settle for 80 or 90% as good as you. Some people will surprise you, some will be very close to you, but for the most part, you have to find people that will do good enough, right? It doesn't mean they don't do a great job or don't try hard. They just literally aren't as good as you. And you can't expect them to be because it's not your company. So I got my company to 8 figures a year. Depending on the month, I would be taking home anywhere between, let's just say 300,000 or 400,000 a month. So my profit, in my opinion, was very good. I would do as high as 40%. A terrible month, I would do 25%, right? And the first thing I learned from that was, yes, I was making a lot of money, but I was still very heavily involved. So if you have a company that's doing anywhere between $200,000 and $400,000 of profit a month, that sounds nice on paper, but I'm still very heavily involved in the management, right? The day-to-day, the meetings, I have to kind of check on people. Wasn't heavily involved in the day-to-day operations, like doing tasks, but the management and so forth. So you think the more you're involved that this is good, but in reality, this will bottleneck you because you're not able to go do other things. So what happened this year that actually helped me tremendously is this number started to go down. Now, I think this was a mixture for one of my offers. I have 4 businesses. One of my businesses, I think there's more competition. I think the fact that Facebook has changed stuff in the algorithm. And so remember, at scale, one of the reasons that bigger companies, you will see the stock market crash, go up, down, all around, is big companies with even a little shift, like 1%, can dramatically increase revenue. And that was something I felt this year. So even doing just 1 to 1.5 million a month, I started feeling it this year with shifts in the marketplace. And so at first I was obviously very upset because now my take home is going down. I know most people would look at this and go like, how much more do you need? But my take home was going down. But what I did is it started helping me go, okay, so let's assume that this continues and I'm doing everything I can to combat it. What can I do to fight against this? And so I had the thought process to go start other divisions of my company. And so let's just say these are other companies. So we'll just say company 1, company 2, and company 3. Now, the issue is I cannot go and be CEO of these 4 companies, right, all at once. And so it got me thinking outside the box of, okay, so what do I actually have to do if this is going to work? What I had to go and do was find CEOs to run these companies for me. But the issue, right, is if someone's going to run a company for you, especially one that takes a lot of work, you're going to have to give away part of the piece of the pie, which I, to this point, never wanted to do. I actually had the mindset that I could continue to grow without ever giving up equity in my company or a profit share, etc. So what I did, and I'll show you the percentages on these different deals. One of the deals was a 50% partnership that already started at $250,000 a month, and let's just say with about 90% profit, okay? So that's where this first business was at. And they actually did a 50% partnership with me because they feel I have the systems and things that I can inject into the business to make it grow. The second business, I did a 5% profit share. Okay? And so what I said is, hey, look, you'll be the CEO. You run the company as you see fit. I will obviously put my input. You can run it how you want. And in return, I will give you 5% of the profit. And so the way this works is someone will go, well, shoot, man, 5% isn't really that much. But if this CEO is getting it off the ground and he's doing the sales calls and the outreach and the messaging and all those things, he's not only getting 5% profit share, but he's also getting a 10% on closes, right? Then as the company grows and he starts to bring people into the company, this number will go down, but the profit share will probably, or should, right, go up. And so what happens is if they were to get to, say, $1 million a month of profit, they're taking home as high as, hopefully you guys can see that on the screen, sorry, $50,000 a month, right? And they're just to be the CEO. And most people, I would think that if you're running a small 8-figure business, that's a good take home. And then business number 3, I did the exact same thing. So we'll just put quotation marks. So a couple things I want to explain. First thing is if you have someone who has an existing business that's already doing pretty good revenue, you're not going to be able to go in there and do 5%. Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. When you're starting companies, if you go to someone, you give them a position as a CEO, and then you give them infrastructure, which is what I did, you can usually get away with this. And then what that allows you to do is you now have multiple revenue streams, and it decreases risk, it increases upside, but you're not having to run every single company. So if I was to show you this on paper, right, let's just do a hypothetical. So let's say this year I was telling you guys, for full transparency, let's say that 250,000 to 400,000 that I used to take home, let's just say it's half. So let's say this year on average in a month, I would only take home this much in company number 1, okay? So there's that. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm doing half the revenue, so now it's worse. But let's take company number 2, and let's say, again, revenue and collected are different, so just keep that in mind. Let's say company number 2 is doing 100,000 a month collected at 90% margin, which is happening in one of my businesses right now. Because of a previous video, I'll try to link it. It's an offer video. This is happening in one of my businesses. So let's assume it's $90,000. That's $45,000 of take home for essentially being the owner but not doing hardly any work, right? All I do is I help push the company. I get on a morning meeting. I tell them what to do, and that's it. That's the extent of what I do. Company number 3, I guess you say, so that would be 2 and 3. That has already done in about 90 days with this person still working, doing other things in another company. Let's just say it's about 75, okay? So let's say 75K, you got about $7,000 worth of sales, okay? Then you got the 5% share. So let's just say, we're looking at about 10K of expenses, and then let's just say there's another 10K of random expenses. So you're looking at another, $50,000 of take home. And then business number 4 is just getting off the ground. So we'll just put question marks there. But what you can see is very quickly is, one, what this does is it decreases risk, but it also makes up for the other income and can actually get a lot higher because these businesses are just in the beginning phases. This business here, number 1, does as high as 1.5 million a month. These businesses are doing respectively, maybe 50 a month, and then this one's doing around 200 a month revenue. Collected's about 50%, right? So anytime you hear a revenue number, by the way, guys, in the service-based business, it's usually about 50% collected off revenue. So if someone's like, hey, I'm doing 500, more than likely they're doing 250 collected, right? If they're speaking strictly to sales, which is what people do 90+% of the time. So this was the way I looked at it as I go, well, look, one, it's not always a bad thing. This happened, and initially I was going, you know what? It's so depressing, and it hurt my ego because I'm so used to winning. But what it helped me do is realize I can actually start other businesses and other offers. It mitigates this risk. It increases my upside on these other businesses. And on top of that, I don't have to run the show anymore. So the reason that I started giving away, right, which is the title of this video, giving away parts of my company, is because that's the only way to really grow at scale and become extremely wealthy. So you give away a piece of the pie, in return, you get a lot more back. And so what you can do, and in this case is, it wasn't even necessarily equity. This company was the 50%, but these 2 companies, I didn't even have to give away equity. It was simply a profit share. And there are people who will do that, especially if you've built up a reputation and you have a very strong foundation that you can help support them in terms of fulfillment, marketing, sales, systems, operations, things of that nature. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. If you like what you saw today, just make sure you subscribe, and then make sure you watch one of the other 2 videos that you'll see on the left or the right hand of the screen. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.